What does it mean to be competitive birdwatchers?
It's just wild.
Like, if I don't make it, what is my excuse?
Which is absurd and ridiculous, and most people don't do that.
I was like, wow, 82. I'm like, that's pretty good.
There truly is a reason it's called the Garden State.
I'm Dan.
I'm Rob.
I'm Justin.
We are
Avian Avarice.
All right, everybody. We are back for season 2 of the Avian Avarice podcast. It's been a while since we did some of these episodes, but we have a whole series of new topics that we want to cover, and we want to answer some of the questions that we know that you have about what we do as a team. We're a team of birders from New Jersey, and we do competitive birding. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a competitive birder?
Honestly, it means kind of whatever you want it to mean. There's a lot of different ways to kind of get into that world. Probably the first, most easily accessible and or like entry level thing is to start compiling a life list. And there's different ways of doing that. And that's probably the first, dipping of the toe into the deep end of the pool, if you will.
Yeah, I remember like having a life list from the time I was like 7 or 8 years old, probably. And that was like one of the first things about birding that I learned was what does it mean for a bird to go on your life list? Like when can you count it? That's the phrasing that we use. For me, it was, I was taught that it was supposed to be a bird you could identify on your own, which a lot of people don't adhere to that rule. And I guess I'm a little flexible on that now, but the point is it was supposed to be a bird you could ID on your own. And it has to be a bird that's wild. It can't be a bird that's in a zoo or something like that. Justin, you remember when you started keeping a life list?
Yeah, I got a late start. I was 30. See, I guess it's very flexible and personal to decide what is okay for you to be, to accept a life bird. Because I know I was in Arizona with a guide, and he was IDing stuff for me, and I remember thinking, well, he ID'd it by sound, but as long as I saw it, because I had studied before I went, and it was more countable for me because I could identify it at least by sight.
I had a similar experience in Belize, and I had been birding for a long time at that point. But obviously, I'd only been to Belize a couple times. I didn't know every bird, and I had a guide who was like IDing stuff, like based on like 1 or 2 chip notes. And I got to a point where I actually was like, I don't know what bird this is. Like, I'm just kidding myself. So I didn't count them, and a couple of them I learned during the trip, like Tody Mott was one of them. By the end of the trip, I could ID it by sound myself. So then I counted it. But before that, I didn't. Mm-hmm. And, like that kind of brings up the idea of honesty to a point because like I'm the only one who cares about my life list. But people compare life lists. We talk to each other about them. So having a sort of a standard and a set of honest standards for your life list is important because really the rest of what we're going to talk about with competitive birding really is based on honesty. Is there like a bird that you ever saw that you couldn't put on your life list for some reason?
Yeah, the Bohemian waxwing when we were on the Super Bowl birding. That would have been a lifer for me. And it's one of those things where it's like, again, it's like a very personal thing. It's like I need to, like I'm pretty convinced. We're talking like 98% that I heard the call, but like I've got a flock of 50 to 75 or something like that, give or take, cedar waxwings in front of me. We know that bird is around there. I'm convinced I'm hearing a different call, but like for me, I've never gone off of a pure audio for like a lifer unless it's like a complete like, all right, it's a nocturnal bird, it's like something you can't possibly see. Like there's some birds that you like, it's audio, that's all you got because they're just so secretive and whatever. But if a bird should be able to be seen, I feel like in my mind, for me, that's that personal thing of like I should be able to see it to count it. In regards to like what you were saying with the honesty of like I 100% will go back and confirm things, but like especially like Dan, you and I had spent some time in Guatemala, and like I had studied up like a little bit, but like that's just like a whole different range of birds and all sorts of specialty things, and like we had a guide kind of helping us out of like there's some stuff like I can know, but like that's kind of what's been my life list of like things I can ideally get a true visual on if it's a bird that can be visualized, and then still again. Still relying on some of that local expertise to kind of help guide my own ID mission there.
Now, like, not to toot our own horns here too much, but we've all kind of gotten to the point where there's not a lot of new things for us to see, like new species for us to see near where we live. Like we're not going to go out on any given day and see a bird we've never seen before because we've pretty much seen all of the naturally occurring birds in our area. So birders in our situations tend to get a little bit aggravating with not being able to see anything new. So we start making up these other things to do.
Yeah.
And one of those things is the idea of a big day. And all of us have been doing big days for a long time. Like Rob and I did some big days in college that were informal. And really all of the competitions that we do that you watch on our channel are big days. First big day. Does anybody remember their first big day? What it was like? What you thought of it?
I mean, I would say for me, like probably the first true like big day, big day. I think we may have had a practice run before World Series, but like World Series day one of like, we like that was the first time where it's like,
Rob, so this is hour 19, I believe. How you hanging in there?
It's been interesting. We still have quite a ways to go, and this is going to be the hardest part because it's going to start getting dark soon, which means you're going to get tired a whole lot easier.
and it's just wild. And we had it was a different team back then. We had people traipsing through Marshland barefoot, like just all sorts of just craziness. And so it was one of those things where it's like it was so fun to see that many birds in a day. Number one. Number two, it was so fun just being out with a group of dudes that are like purely focused on, mostly purely focused on exactly what you're trying to do and trying to achieve. And it was just, for me, it was just so cool because most people just know Jersey as like this industrial state. It's like the Parkway, the Turnpike, all these like oil refineries and all this other nonsense. And they don't get to see like the wilds of what actually Jersey has to offer. Like there truly is a reason it's called the Garden State. Like we've got Appalachia, we've got coastal plains, we've got all sorts of different environments and biomes. And it was just so neat to see all of that kind of come together in fruition. So for me, that was like the biggest thing. It was like just this all-encompassing like experience, not quite a spiritual level to that extent, but like it was just such a cool day. Like that for me, that was what I would consider like my first true big day.
Yeah. Justin, your first day of birding was like sort of like a big day, wasn't it?
Well, we're going back to what we said before. That depends on if you count somebody else's IDs.
Yeah.
But I was at a place. I was at Walker Ave Wetlands. It was bone dry, which I thought it must be like this all the time, and it never is. And I think it was like 66 species or something in like 4 hours, and my mind was blown that there was that much variety in such a short period of time. My first one was the LGA World Series of Birding, the limited geographic area, I guess it is.
Yeah.
And I picked my home county of Passaic, and I went out with nowhere near enough knowledge to really compete at all. I just wanted to do it because it just sounded like something I just couldn't wait to do it. I just wanted to try. And I had 82, which is putrid considering we went over 40 birds higher than that, the three of us, like 15 years later.
But how did you feel on that day though?
I was like, wow, 82. I'm like, that's pretty good. Now, I mean, God, I think we've seen 82 by like noon. It's like.
Yeah. But you know what, though? You bring up an interesting concept here, which is like a county level something. And like, I think one of the things that people may not realize about birders, especially after some experience, is we start making up all these other lists that we keep track of. So like you're talking about a county list and a county big day, but a county list. Do you keep a county list?
100% keep a county list. I know that, Dan and I, we both do a all-time county list, and we have knowledge of our highest total in a county in a year. Those seem to be the two big ones. But now you get to a point where someone reports something crazy rare, and I have left school I'm a teacher. I have left school and just, I remember one time I drove to Garrett Mountain and back. I had 2 periods off in a row. I got there and back again. And as I got back, the bell was ringing for the class I had to teach. And on my way home, like, if I don't make it, what is my excuse? And it was a Chuck Will's widow spotted during the middle of the day sleeping. And I remember when I got there, I had 7 minutes.
Wow.
And I was just like, where is this thing? Where is this thing? You know, and I finally got it, and I literally ran back to the car and just like got on Route 80 and sped back to work. You know, like that's how crazy it gets when you're going for a big year. That was a big year for me. That was 2018.
Right. So then that's a whole nother category of competitive birding, right? But like, so people keep county lists, people keep state lists, people keep yard lists, people keep the ABA area is a big deal. That's the American Birding Association area. That is essentially a club, but it's like an important authoritative club in birding.
For me, I keep a yard list, a running yard list of all time. We have in the past done yard lists for 1 calendar year on a spreadsheet. That was fun. And the all-time county list is really the most major one for me, being a father of 2 young kids and not really able to extend out to the whole state level. I can't travel 3 hours to Cape May, you know. But my yard list I keep in a little journal, and I update it all the time. And then Dan and I have a strict list and a loose list of birds we've seen from our property versus birds that have actually physically used our property. So technically, I have 2 bird lists just for my yard.
I'm probably like the least active lister in the sense of like formalized listers for like eBird and that kind of thing. So for me, like the thing I really care about, I care about my overall life list. I care about my yard list. I intentionally keep a separate list for nesters. So it's like one thing, and for me, like even the yard list in and of itself, depending on who you're talking to, there are strict listers in the sense of if I draw my property lines and I shoot a line directly straight up from those property lines, a bird has to physically cross that property line. I'm not one of those guys. I'm like, if I am standing on my property and I can physically see that bird, which most of the competitive birding events that we do, it's not about if the bird crosses that property line or, you know, state line or whatever. It's more about if you are physically on that property or state line or state or whatever, and you can visualize the bird or hear the bird or whatever, that counts. So for me, that's how I do my home list. I also keep a separate list for nesters. And some people do that, some people may not do that. And for me, that's more of like how much am I investing in my own property to make sure that it's an actual, you know, trying to, you know, reclaim the property from whatever, you know, commercial development that may have happened. Now I live in farm country, Jersey form of farm country. We're not talking about Iowa and like monoculture and that type of thing, you know. So I'm trying to intentionally put native plants, native organisms back into my property to try and create an environment that the birds that are naturally nesting and stuff in the state, that they would hopefully come to my property and do those things. And then I care only about like county lists or you know, more specialized lists if there's something like really cool, really rare. That I'll make a point to go out and see and like, you know, list on eBird. So for me, it's like I'm totally an opportunist, and I care about otherwise my state list, or excuse me, not my state list, my life list and my like yard list. Those are the big drives for me. That's what gets me going.
Yeah, Rob, I like that you said that you have a nester list, because I don't know if I have a nester list exactly, but I also have an informal nesting list. I kind of keep track of what birds have nested on the property, which is a very short list, but really for the same reasons. Like, we're all interested in like gardening for birds in a pretty aggressive way. I think the 3 of us, that's something we haven't talked much about on this channel, but I have now over 50 species of native plants on the property, and I'm trying to do the same thing. Like, to me, it's like I've actually accomplished something for birds if they can complete a life cycle here.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a short list, but I do have that list. I'm glad you brought that up. I have a yard list. I actually have 3 yard lists because, so like Justin, I've got the sort of the loose one. It's kind of like Rob's. if you could see it from the property accounts. Then I have the one where like the bird's got to be on the property. And then I have even another one that I've counted only during very specific timed like counting protocol. I'm a science guy and I have an effort-based list. So that list actually has like the numbers I need in order to calculate abundances and frequencies and stuff like that, which is absurd and ridiculous. And most people don't do that, but I have that. So I have actually 3 lists for my yard. And then the county is the thing I probably care the most about other than life list, right? Life list is the thing that, that's anytime I can see a new bird, that's the thing that's going to get me going the most. But aside from that, like county list is the one thing that I feel like I can handle. Cause yeah, we have kids, we work, we don't have time to be chasing things all over the state. I kind of cared about my Jersey list a little bit for a while, but like Justin said, Justin and I live on the north end of the state, and to drive to Cape May is like 2 or 3 hours. And if a rare bird is seen there, like I can't drop everything and blow off 4.5 hours to go look for it. It's just not possible. So it kind of forces me to give up on that a little bit. But the county list is a lot more doable because like the furthest I'd have to drive is maybe like 30 or 40 minutes. So yeah. And there was a time where, I did like 2 county big years, and at certain points I've been the leader. Justin's been the leader in like all time, at least as far as eBird's concerned. So those are the lists we care about. There's one thing that I wish I could have done if I could go back in time, listing wise, that I can't because I believe the event no longer exists. But there used to be an event called the Sky Islands Birding Cup that was associated with Southeast Arizona Audubon or Tucson Audubon. I think it's Tucson Audubon is the name of the group.
For like your
and
scouting
basically
stuff.
This was a Southeast Arizona like World Series of Birding ish like actual team competition. And I just don't think they're running it anymore. But man, I love birding in Southeast Arizona. That's another topic for another episode. That would have been the most spectacular event for us to do if we ever could have done it. And if it ever happens again, like I would love to try to get the 3 of us to do it. You guys have competitions or other events or something like that you aspire to do at some point with us or separately?
Champions of the Flyway. There's a lot of geopolitical concerns because of various things that are going on, but like that would be so
because
awesome.
Champions of the Flyway is where, Rob?
Say where it is.
It's Israel. Like that's the main team, and like that's a hotbed for a lot of things. And depending on the year, the month, like things are either awesome or they're like in genuine active warfare. So it's like one of those things where like it is such an amazing thing. And we've had some of those guys come over and like, when we talk about competitive birding, we've had some of those guys that are basically the main people that are kind of running the show over there come over and compete in World Series of Birding, and they would love nothing more than to be genuinely interested in and help for bird conservation over there, because that is such a massive flyway from again things to the north down to the south, eventually working their way to like Africa, etc., like with their different migration routes. And that's just a whole hundreds, if not thousands, of species that we just never see over here. We just don't have access to those birds. And so like that would be one that would be like on my bucket list.
You can see how basically competitive birding is all about taking some sort of parameters and making like a limited space or time for yourself and then trying to find birds in that time. Because like if you've already seen a chickadee and a blue jay and a cardinal, you might not get as thrilled as you should to see one again. But if you're starting from 0 on a day because you're saying today, this is the only thing that matters is what we see today, well, then you do get excited when you see that first chickadee, cardinal, blue jay, etc. And that's part of why we do this a little bit. We also do these competitive birding events that are formal. They're not just, nobody's looking over my shoulder to find out how many Passaic County birds I have, right? Although eBird is its own animal and people care about that. But there's nobody who's actually checking or like judging or officiating. But there are events where that does happen, where there is some sort of judging and officiating and rules and standards. And those are the events that's our bread and butter, right? That's really kind of why we exist as a team and certainly as a YouTube channel. That's our World Series of birding and our Super Bowl of birding. And there's other events out there as well. And that's a topic that we want to cover in another video. In our next episode, we're going to talk all about how do you plan for one of those events? How do you jump into one of them? How do you do it for the first time? And how do you hopefully win an event like that? And maybe what are some things you should make sure you don't do wrong when you do an event like that? But if you want to see that, stay tuned for our next episode.
I think ultimately part of our point here is that competitive birding is going to be whatever you want it to be. Like, you can choose to be as active in this hobby as you want. You can choose to be as active as you want to be in the citizen science aspect of this this hobby. You can choose to be, hey, listen, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to see every bird on the planet, or I can be proactive in seeing every bird in my backyard. I think that's what is beautiful about this hobby, is that you can choose to kind of have it be what you want it to be. And as long as you're trying to educate yourself, as long as you're trying to really invest in a lot of the resources that are currently out there. And I think the more time that you spend out in the field seeing the birds, the more you can kind of better navigate the world of birding, and especially competitive birding. Certainly, by all means, we're open books here. We are not experts in the sense that we're not writing the books on the IDs, but we've been doing this aspect of what we do for a long time. So we're always helpful to mentor. We're always helpful to kind of help people kind of get their foot in, because at the end of the day, it's like, we care about birds, we care about conservation, and the more people we can get to that cause, we are more than happy to support. So I hope this episode did something for you. I hope you were able to learn something, to maybe get excited about something, to maybe realize there's an aspect of your life that you could dive a little deeper into. And by all means, we'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear your comments.